Welcome to I Do What I Do, where we explore how and why folks do what they do to forge their path and create fulfilling, squiggly careers. I'm Zara Bartels, once a dancer, now a creative operator, and in this first season, we're in London, once my home for many years. So whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a creative soul, or just curious about what makes people tick, have a listen. You'll be inspired to do what you do better. Let's go. So, hi Jolade.
Hi Zara.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Thank you for going into your discomfort and joining me on my podcast. Welcome to I Do What I Do.
It's all good.
And welcome to the people who are listening and watching. We're going to talk to Jolade today, whose tagline is an artist about us, which I love. And I'm not going to introduce you. I think it's only fair that you introduce yourself because you have such a beautiful, brilliant story. Tell us as much or as little as you want.
That is the worst question or the worst request ever you can ask me. I'm an artist. I tell stories. I'm a visual storyteller. So through photography, film, and I'm also a writer. So a writer of poetry. But yeah, all those worlds, there's an intersection of just storytelling. Or rather, they all arrive at the intersection of storytelling in various forms, from personal stories or commercial, corporate stories as well. And yeah, I care about people and community. These glasses are interesting.
I love my glasses.
Yeah.
And I like that everyone panics a little bit.
The ergonomics are very...
Yeah.
like,
They're circular. They're like us. They're like life, innit?
yo, crazy.
They're nice, huh?
Yeah.
But also, what I think is really unique about you, Jolade, is you are very open about your spirituality. That's a big part of you. Where does that come from?
Yes, I'm very into my spirituality, and to be more precise or more specific, Christianity. And I know that word has, or term, and faith has a lot of connotations for different people. And I want to preface what I'm about to say by saying specifically a follower of Christ. So that is, I recognize that Jesus is the Son of God and our Savior, and that he died for us. And my understanding of Christ has come from a personal understanding, as it should be for Christians. As much as there is a mantra, there is definitely in the faith an endorsed perspective in the Bible of everyone working out their own salvation and having a personal relationship. I'm not here to say that my perspective of Christ is the only one outside of the fact that he is. But for me, it's a thing that I was raised in a Christian home, but being raised in a Christian home doesn't mean that you are Christian. I had my journey, to say the least, of being raised in a Christian home, in a very African, specifically Nigerian Christian home in Nigeria. Always believed in God. I don't know how or why, but I've always believed in God. But when I did leave the church, because I was a bit jaded by the church, I still believed in him, but I wasn't living the godly way, because let's be honest, the church can do that.
The institution of church.
Yeah, especially if the church is not, and I get it, tradition infiltrates the church. And a lot of people don't know how to separate tradition from the faith. And that's where a lot of problems come up. So I think I struggled more with the cultural element of my tradition infiltrating. And I didn't really know. I knew something was off, but I wasn't able to. I was a kid, first of all, so I'm not able to say no. But also I didn't really know enough to be like, is this really the way or not? So when I left the church, and you're not in the church, you're not around people that are of the faith, you can believe in God, but you're not doing godly things or living a godly way. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't out there like burning churches or anything, but there are elements about yourself that are just not speaking to the belief that you say you hold. So I've been back in the faith properly for about 4 or 5 years now, and the church as well. That has helped because of the fellowship in there that really engage in the word and engage in conversations and debates, healthy ones.
Okay.
But we're all united on the word. So it's a thing where even if every one of us has a opinion, it's okay, we can have your opinions, but what does the word say?
Right.
And that's where the buck stops, because it's not about us. If we're saying we believe in this faith and the word is ultimate, then our opinions come second and they don't matter. So that's a place that's helped me learn more, because it's not about anyone's ego or what anyone says is right. It's, okay, what do we understand by this? And how do we feel about it compared to the world and how we live in the world? And it's cool. This is it. So it's really helped me understand where the problem was, what the problem is, but also who I am and what I believe and how it helps me navigate this world on a daily basis.
And so it helps you navigate your world on a daily basis. Cheers, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome. I love a good ginger
This
ale.
is the best ginger beer in the world. I don't care what anyone else says.
What, this brand in particular?
Yeah, I'll say so. I've not had any. You know what? When I was in Jamaica, there was a brand I had, D&G. It was fire. It was fire. The ginger was ginger and it was fire. But outside of that, that's not available in London.
Yeah,
but
probably not.
Old Jamaica is the.
It's the only one. It's the one that I know my Caribbean people drink.
It's the
So that's
best.
the one I'm going to pick up. It's interesting. I don't know why I don't drink ginger beer, considering I love ginger ale, I love ginger tea, I love ginger as a whole. It's just probably habit of not really coming from Trinidad. Ginger beer isn't really part of our culture.
Fair enough.
But ginger in everything. And actually, ginger beer comes up in Christmas time. It's a Christmas thing.
Fair enough.
But it's always been like homemade ginger beer. Like I've never actually drank mass-produced ginger beer. Maybe I should just do that.
Be careful. Like I haven't had this in a while because again I keep my sugar intake low. And correction, it wasn't in Jamaica. I had it in New York, and I was staying with a guy and his family, and they gave it to me. So I don't even know if it's Jamaican.
We will have to hunt that out. Your spirituality and your... Wait, let's back up a little bit. Your childhood. You're born here, but you went to school in Nigeria, and then you returned. How has that informed your art as being an artist about us?
So that is a good question. I think it definitely informs my art. I think that's a very good question. I think how it influences my art or informs it has changed. Because when I came back to London, art was my way of making sense of that experience.
Of your experience in Nigeria?
Yeah, because it wasn't, at the time as a child, it wasn't the nicest experience for me, and for many reasons. So art was, especially poetry. So I was always a writer from a very young age, even before I came back to London. When poetry came in my teens, when you get to 18, you're like, oh, the world is
All
so
these
bleak. Emotions. And then you discover Mos Def and Telequeli. You're like, oh, yeah, these guys get me.
Those are good people to discover.
No, for real. That whole underground, deep in my common bag and everything. And I think just seeing how they were able to, they get it. Even Eminem, all those guys, for me, it was like, oh, the way they're able to make sense of the world. And poetry came from that. More rap initially, because I'm a huge fan of rap. I knew I couldn't rap, but I knew I could write. But then poetry came out of that in a weird way. And that was me able to get what was in here out.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was just almost, I guess at the time, philosophizing the experiences, like writing the experience and then finding a sort of line of reason at the same time. So that definitely influenced a lot of my writing, because I wasn't yet necessarily a visual artist at the time.
Okay.
That came later on through like education and deciding to, okay, cool, let me adapt this thing into what it is now. But my upbringing, looking at going to Nigeria as a 6-7-year-old, I think one of the things that makes me now bring that experience into my visual art, I think it was 1997 MTV Base.
That was definitely 1997 time.
Yeah, if you know, you know.
Right? That was a good time. The other day we were talking about that, and I was like, no, I was an actual adult at that time, but I still, like,
so
I was a young adult.
You'd be more aware of
so
things.
yeah, like, that's fully my growing up experience.
I can imagine, yeah.
When MTV was like, life.
It was, I remember so much of my childhood through music. And specifically MTV. We didn't have cable in my house or constant electricity, because Nigeria's power system was just trash. But my cousins, who were a bit more well off, they had everything. So
they had a generator and such.
Yeah. And my mother would sometimes get my uncles to drive us to pick me up from school. So I'd stay at their house until she was done with work to come pick us up. So I was always there when Nickelodeon, VH1 was on, catching my fix.
Did you do the BET version as well, the 106 and Park?
No, we didn't have that on cable in Nigeria. So like all we had was MTV Base, VH1, and like whatever version of African channels that would show Western content. But I didn't know about BET until I came to London, and I think I came back in 2004.
Yeah, you would have missed it.
Yeah, no, actually, 106 and Park was still on.
Really?
It
okay,
was still
I stopped
on,
watching.
But that was still on cable if you had it. But like it was 97 MTV Base. And that was I'd arrived in Nigeria, but it was a school night at my uncle's house, and I remember this music video came on, which years later I would find out that was the year it debuted, and it's my favorite song of all time.
Which is?
Got Till It's Gone, Janet Jackson. And that music video, when I saw that, I was till now it's a mood board for me of just like everything I want to make, because the video was coming to Nigeria was a shock in the sense that okay, black people are everywhere, and in a way I grew up around black people in London, like African hall parties, cousins' houses, but I knew my school and my neighbors, white, Asian, whatever. So I'm in a whole country where everyone is black, and then I'm also discovering there are other countries where there are black people, like Ghana, like huh?
There's more of
There's
us?
more. So I'm watching this music video, and I'm seeing this. Everyone knows Janet Jackson. I'm aware of her music, but this video had me transfixed from how beautiful it was of just black people being themselves, celebrating, vibing, and the song's beautiful.
It is a beautiful song.
Incredible song, and I think in the back of my mind it lodged itself as like a this us. I already felt othered when I moved to Nigeria because I had a British accent. People were like, "Oh, you're not Nigerian."
You're still around your people,
but they don't.
But
yeah, displacement is a thing and comparison, right? So people are like, "Oh, you're not Nigerian." Mom and dad's from me, but you're not. You don't speak Yoruba. You don't have the accent. Even though you eat the food, it's still not enough. So I didn't feel like I belonged in that country anyway. So I was like, yeah, I'm not Nigerian like you guys. And I agreed with it because I don't believe in a lot of the things you guys believe in. The sort of the behavioral patterns, I'm like, this don't make sense to me. I'm other, but that's fine. But this music video put that all aside and made me feel like we could all, in a space where we just celebrate, we're all the same. We're cool. We're peaceful. We're having fun. There is no, where you from? It's, I see you. Come on in.
And be making music.
And it's
making art.
Yeah, making art. And I felt like I wanted to kind of design worlds where that could be an experience. And not just even for black people, I think for people in general, because I've always had this belief that, for example, if you put food on the table and invite everyone round, there's no war. Everyone's going to eat.
Yeah.
Because everyone's hungry. At that moment, you're not seeing an enemy. You're saying, I've taken my share, you take your share. It's what experiences can we design or create where in a room, I don't see color, I don't see creed, I don't see religion, I just see you as a human that deserves space and time. I deserve space and time to be seen and cared for. So when I say about us, I'm like, okay, what is the thing that unites us? And I think art is one of those things where if it makes you feel something, which that music video made me feel, then it's done its job. It's made me feel. It's made me remember I'm human.
Yeah.
And if I remember I'm human, I remember I share this world with someone else that is also human. And I have to pay attention to you to make sure you're being seen and heard and vice versa. So that informs my process to this day of, as much as I was writing to like understand me, now I'm like, if I understand me, there's something in this that's also representing you. Because you're human too, so you might relate to this. So the more I write, the more I'm understanding everyone around me. Okay, I get you now. You're not angry for the reasons I think you're angry. There's something deeper. I'm still figuring it out, but I think that was the starting point of art, even I didn't know it to be that at the time.
We still have these layers, and these layers and differences are unique and important. And while it would be ideal if we could all appreciate ourselves for who we are, that's not the nature of the world we live in. So how, as an artist, and so let's use the example of earlier you mentioned that sometimes you do the corporate gig. How do you balance that? Are there any corporate gigs that you have done recently or have done that you feel are as close to being able to find the art and find the us in it?
That's a good question. I think the last corporate kind of gig, if I can call it a corporate one, that I've ever done that brought me close would have been, what year is it now? 2024.
Yeah.
Time.
All year.
So much time going. Ooh, yeah. The last three, but the last one, I think out of the three I would mention, it's tough. It's tough. I would say maybe there's something I did for Canon. Canon approached me and said, look, we're looking to debut a new cine camera, and they're looking for directors to make a film of their choice, and that would be used to launch the camera. And I was this was right in the middle of the pandemic, and things were really tough for a lot of people. And I was going through it financially. All the jobs I had that would normally take me away got cancelled. So I was really on grace and vibes, like, God, I don't know what you're going to do, but do something. And I got this random email, and I couldn't believe it. I said, you're
Who,
looking.
me?
Why am I in this running? Because I'm by no means a viral director out there. Like I'm very quiet in the sense of.
But you make some beautiful,
I appreciate that.
beautiful work.
I appreciate it. I'm very blessed to have the teams that I get to work with to help me do that, and the friends around me that encourage me in the ways that they do. But I know that as much as I might have tried in the past to tick the boxes to get out there, and I didn't, and I'm glad that didn't happen because there wasn't any real feeling behind that. It was more sense of starvation, which we should never work from. But I do know that despite the work I've done of my own hands that I love and care for, I'm still not out there in my head to be seen by such people.
Right.
Because I'm
But
like,
they saw you.
But they saw me. So you never know who's watching, to say the least. But they were like, yeah, we would love to see what ideas you had. And it's an idea that I came up with about a year or 6 months prior with my co-founder of the company I was running at the time, that I wanted to shoot with a friend who's a poet, Sophia Tucker. She's a incredible poet, and I wanted to shoot this idea. She has a book called "Somebody Give This Heart a Pen," and I said I want to make a creative film around that. Give This Heart a Pen. Where the idea was, we get her in a studio to examine a process of how she writes, but creatively we get her to put post-it notes on a wall, and by the end of it, it's a heart-shaped post-it note wall, and it's different themes and stuff. But we didn't have any money to get the idea done, so we're like, oh, we'll park it. So we'll wait. So when Canon approached and said, "Have I got any ideas?" I said, "I've got this idea," and I wasn't quite sure they'd say yes because Canon, they probably want more high octane thing.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, we're considering other directors at the same time." So I said, here's what it is. I've been here before. It's fine. And they came back and said, "Yeah, they love your idea. Canon Global want your idea." And I'm like, huh? I said, I actually asked, "Are you sure?" Because this is more about poetry. And I'm like, I might get a parkour friend in there, an athlete, because I want to show her what stuff. Yeah, we love it. I think it's great. It's the spirit of filmmaking that we want. I'm like, this is crazy. An original idea. They won it for their global campaign. So we got to make it, and it went global, still out there doing its thing.
Amazing.
And it was a very whirlwind experience where I even had the heads of the company from Japan in calls with me talking about the idea. We love it. And it was just weird. Like, how does an idea
A little
that...
bit of outer body.
It was just, I was just like, really? You want this, for me, community story where it's not about anything crazy. For me, it's about my mediums, which are poetry, parkour, community, visual art. And they were like, whatever you need to get it done, we'll get it done. And for me, I was like, okay, cool. So it's possible to do what you want to do, and you haven't got to compromise.
Yeah.
It was, and I got to bring in the team that I wanted to work with, like my people. They were like, we just want you. I said, no, I'm not doing this if you don't allow me to bring my co-founder in. As much as I could do it myself, I don't believe in that. Where there's space, make space.
But also, those
know?
are the people who you have a shorthand with, they get you, and it will inevitably make a
Exactly.
better product.
Exactly,
Right? Because they
yeah.
bring something else to the table
Definitely.
as well.
Like, all the people I wanted to be involved got involved. Everyone was paid, which is great as well. I think that was one of the projects that showed me that, okay, cool, it might be hard, it might take a while, but you can do what you want to do without compromising and still having that about us thing in there. And if it was an extra bonus, both of the people I had in the film, Sophia is a black woman, and Georgia, the parkour athlete, who's a friend, she's also a black woman. And I was like, yeah, I really want these people in this doing their thing. And because I'm from both backgrounds, I got to represent them in a way true to communities that they both represent. That was a very mind-blowing kind of experience that I hold very dear, that shows me I can be about us.
Yeah. Would young Jolade, who was in boarding school in Nigeria, would he have, did he see this? Did he know this was coming?
No, I think about him often. I think about him a lot.
What do you think about, or what do you talk to him about?
I just think about him a lot because I can't necessarily write a letter to my past self, like it's going to be okay type thing. But I do think about how I was, and I tell people, anyone that asks, I say, look, I never saw any of this coming. I think I even said to you, when we met a couple
Weeks
ago,
ago.
yeah, what is time?
What is time?
Yeah, there's nothing about my life, especially since Nigeria, that I could have predicted. Nothing was designed or written in a sense of this is exactly how it's going to go. And that's how I know it's God. That's how I know Jesus is always there. Like, he's with us, period. Like, I don't care what anyone says. You might not feel it, but he's there. And in hindsight, I can look back and be like, oh, you were right there. Those moments when I wasn't sure what the hell was going on or why I was going through what I was going through, there was like this reassurance of like, I got you. Like, you might not see it, but I have a plan for you, which is what the Bible says. I've got a plan for you. And being an angsty young person from whatever background you're from, you're going to feel like the world's against you. So, like, when I think about the young version of myself, or the younger version of myself, rather, it's, yeah, nah, I couldn't, nah.
Were your report cards an indicator, even if you could not imagine it? Do you think your report cards and or your teachers saw an indication of that? Or are you a complete 90-degree or 180 even from what those report cards might have said?
Those report cards, none of them would have given an indication as to what was going to happen with me. I think my report cards were nothing to smile at, in the sense that I wasn't a bad kid, but the conditions I was raised in made it hard for me to be academic. So I know I was pretty good in school before I left for Nigeria, but the change in environment, the very rapid change, especially when I was very young when I started boarding school. I was like 9 years old when I went to equivalent of what would be like year 7, which doesn't happen. But in Nigeria, it's not about your age. It's about, do you have the noggin? And I took the entrance exam 2 years early because my father said, oh, he's smart, let him do it. My mother was against it, but I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Exams, yeah, sure.
You were 9, you did what you were told.
I had no clue that I was now going to be thrust into an environment, many different ones. I didn't go to just one school, I went to a few. I was very young, and that's not to say that there aren't younger kids who were able to adapt, but the very nature of myself, in terms of the way I saw the world and what was bubbling in regards to my passion, which I couldn't articulate back then, was not being catered to in the environments I was thrust into. Nigeria in the 90s, for a young person who was inherently a creative, everyone's creative, but like a creative wanting to be an artist, even though not knowing it, it was not going to cater to that kid. It's especially from black backgrounds, and not just black backgrounds, probably even any ethnic minority contending for a place in the West. You're looking at
very traditional careers, doctor, lawyer, accountant,
anything that says security or
engineer.
Respect.
Those were your focus.
That was it. So school was not a place where my writing was encouraged, or if anything, it was pretty much beaten out of me. And any other person that was going against the grain. And I had to do a lot of what I was doing in secret. Literally in secret. No one could be around when I was doing it, hide it.
But you still kept it up there.
Yeah, it's the only way for me to make sense of the world and to do what was going on in here. I often think, I was never a suicidal person, but I often think about how I don't know where I'd be if I didn't have a pen and a paper. I don't know what I would have done. And there were friends who actually secretly encouraged me when I was there. That ran another story. Like, all right, cool. It was almost like a challenge. Could you do something? I said, could I? Watch me work. And some of them have given me ideas that to this day I'm still looking to make happen. It was like in the rebellion, the craft was being built. My report cards were abysmal because I would study. I tried hard. I would study in the way that studying was encouraged. But the exams would just not show that to be the case. So no one believed I was studying.
And I feel examinations are flawed from the beginning anyway, because they only test you in one way.
Yeah.
As the world has come along, we know that people learn in multiple ways and they respond or output in multiple ways. So you have this rebellious nature, but this rebellious nature is to do something that you have to do, right? That you are, in a way, as you said, you don't know where you would be, and has completely transformed and informed your life. Could you imagine a different life that you have now at all?
No, my life was, I believe wholeheartedly that my life was only meant to go this way. There was nothing else. I do a lot of things, and I'm aware of that. And I don't think it's the amount of things that I do that are what I was meant to be doing. I feel like God always knew that whatever he was going to make me out to be, I couldn't be someone that didn't have enough going on to keep me engaged. And that allowed me to be a part of the world in the way I need to be a part of it. One of the things that I look back on and I realize, again, God was really there. My godmother, my actual aunt, I think it was her, and she gave me this. I read everything that was in our house, like Reader's Digest, my mom's law books. I love books. Were my first friends. Books. And my mother saw that and she encouraged the sort of reading and writing. And
I think that's one thing our African and Caribbean cultures got right.
Yeah.
The love of reading and instilling that in children, and really
definitely
they got that right.
Go for it. You want to read a book, you better read. Yeah. So I feel like a lot of my love from writing came from my mother recognizing at an early age that this kid really. Apparently, I was like reading very early in life. Yeah. But anyway, she gifted me this book called The Prayer of Jabez. which was to do with the story of Jabez in the Bible, and he only has like 4 lines in the entire Bible.
And someone wrote a whole book on this.
Yeah, because the prayer was
so powerful,
very powerful. And I remember reading it as a kid, and I like this Jabez was an enigma to me, even at that age of 7 or 8 years old. In the Bible, his story comes in during a genealogy. I think the genealogy is happening in like Chronicles. Yeah, in Chronicles, where Adam and Eve begot Cain and Abel begot that whole.
Okay.
And then his story is just thrust in there randomly, and I'm like, that's it. There's no more. And his story was, and Jabez was named Pain because his mother bore him in pain. But he was more honorable than his brothers and sisters. And one day he cried out to the Lord that you would bless me, increase my horizons, and keep me from evil. And the next verse said, and God listened and granted his request. And that was it. That's all we heard of him.
But what a lovely prayer, though, to increase my horizons and keep me from evil.
And that struck me. First of all, I was struck by the fact that this guy's name was Pain. Damn, that's heavy. And I know one other guy, like today, his name is Jabez, and I've never asked him as to how he feels about that name. Really nice guy. And when I see him next, I'll probably ask him. But he's the only other person I know, and he's a black brother too. But I read this guy's story that Jabez Pain, but it was more honorable than his brothers and sisters. But that prayer, like, you would increase my horizons. And I remember being this kid in Nigeria where I felt like I was trapped in a way, and like I wanted to break out, and I felt like there was more out there. I felt like there was more. Couldn't tell what. I mostly wanted to get back to London. Oh, why am I here? What the hell? But I felt like there was more. And that prayer stuck with me. Like, yeah, like, increase my horizons. Like, something about it was like, yeah. And years later, I can be like, yo, you've been doing that, God. Like, you listened.
Yeah.
Because I can't, the kid I was that was like looking out, because the way the houses are built in Nigeria, everyone's got like security bars.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to be home. When I wasn't at boarding school, before I went to boarding school, I was always at home taking care of my little sister and my little brother when he was born. And I was home alone. There's no electricity. It was dark. I would always sit on like the front step of our house before the front doors, and there's a gate by the front door before the actual outside.
Yeah.
There's a mosquito net and the security bars, right? I'm sitting out there looking through these bars every day, thinking there's got to be more. I'm watching planes like, oh man, like I want to be out of here. And then this prayer was like in the back of my mind. So to see the life I've lived now, I'm just like, hey, yo, God is real.
He heard you.
That prayer is real.
And you continue expanding your horizons because you travel a lot and you take a lot of beautiful pictures on your
God
travels
is good
as well.
God is, listen, no one can tell me God isn't real. Like,
What's one of your favorite places to have traveled to?
Another question I hate so much.
If there's a whole bunch, like, fair enough, but memorable. How's that?
It's a fair question. And hate is a strong word. I didn't mean hate. Oh, that's for all these places are for different reasons. New York, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Kenya, Bali, Gambia. Wow.
So now you have to say why for each, though.
Oh, that's tough because so New York. If anyone's been to New York, it's crazy. And I think as a creative, it engages me on every single level. And the things you see, you hear. I get why New York is like the mecca of street photography, because there's stories everywhere. New York is just, I love New York. The photography element, it allows me to be creative. Who else did I say?
You said Albuquerque, New
Mexico. Yeah, it's a vast place. Mountain ranges, skylines like nothing you've ever seen, expanse. And when the sun's going down, whoa. Really loved it. And the community that I got to meet there, the indigenous people, I got to meet them. And
what took you there?
I was doing a project with the US Embassy. They were looking for creators to document US culture in their own eyes. So we had to do east to the west coast. So they chose DC, LA, Albuquerque, and Indiana. So we had stopped in Albuquerque for like 4 days, and we had like things organized, like tours and stuff. So we met, but I also went on my own. Whenever I go anywhere, I always make sure I do my own little. I like to get into
culture integration.
I love it. It pays dividends, and I got to meet some really cool people, tradesmen or stories, and the plan is to somehow find a way to go back and really just spend time in that community, because I really want to just not even to document them. I just want to learn more, because these are people I've only ever seen on TV, and you almost make them a mythical being, which I think does them a huge disservice, because you meet them, you're like, these are real people with a real history that yo, they
With a
were
real
almost
powerful, storied,
intricate for real.
probably the closest to the only people who get that kind of intergenerational trauma and all of
Yeah.
these things. Like, we are
Yeah,
connected in a
in a huge way.
unfortunate
An
way, but
unfortunate
also in
way.
some beautiful
Yeah.
ways, I think, also with how our cultures respect nature,
Oh yeah.
connect with community,
Yeah.
the village, all of those things
All
are
of
so
those
very
things.
connected.
Very connected, and yeah, so that was really just whoa for me.
Yeah.
Gambia, because yeah, I was doing a job there for
Always
4
wanted
months.
to go to the Gambia.
You'd love it. It's a very beautiful country. The Caribbean influence is huge. I mean, when I first got there, and I'm hearing his
That's
reggae music everywhere, and I'm like, am I in Gambia? Am I?
Oh,
Locks
Portland,
everywhere.
Jamaica.
No, for real, like everyone's like, yes, man. And Wagwan's like, am I?
Yo,
Like,
Jamaica has done such a phenomenal
Yo.
job of making sure the world knows about their culture.
no, for real, and I can see why. Especially if you look at the reggae movement.
Yeah.
Peace and love. And if you know what, that kind of culture is easily indoctrinated where there is good weather. So I think about it often about how when I go to any African place, not just African place, any place where there's more black people as the main dwellers, where there is sand, sun, access to water, and there's green all around you, good vibes are not hard to find.
You can't be anything but happy.
You can't be anything but happy. Like, let's not lie to ourselves. Weather plays a huge part in our disposition, and that movement, that especially that musical movement of reggae. Like, I got into reggae heavy last year when I went to Jamaica for the first time on a project.
What parts of Jamaica?
We're in Montego Bay, but we also went into Kingston, Morant Bay, and we went to Maroon Town, deep the inside. It was
bush.
it was a winding trail for hours. I wasn't sure.
Huge. It's so much bigger than you think it is.
Yo, I'm just like, people live this far to this place and that they haven't got to leave. Crazy. But my friends are both Jamaican that I went with on the project, both actors. They were preparing for a role, and they asked me to come with them to document the process, and we got some really good history, like learning a lot.
Amazing.
It was a very deep and emotional journey. Yeah, there's so
But
much.
very smart of them to think about documenting it.
Yeah, unfortunately for them, they're the ones that thought about it and not the company that was putting on the production. And it's one of them things again of like, why don't you guys see the vision?
Because most of the time they don't have the vision.
They don't, and they don't, and they catch on too late.
And then it's up to the creative human, the one who has the vision, to be like, this is very obvious and in your face, and also is an offshoot and creates different revenue streams, and you have to be able to translate it into their language and all these things.
And sometimes they still don't buy it, and it's like your loss. But I think it was a great experience and a very spiritual time as well, like in the faith. But I was able to see this country, parts of it anyway, that I've grown up being told not to look at because, again, the Nigerian disposition towards Jamaican culture. I've understood the rift more that I understand the context of colonial history in this country, especially with the Windrush generation, what was done to them, and then seeing how the African immigration or the African contingent that came after benefited from that, was used to set them against each other.
Yep.
But then coming to that country and then seeing, I have locks, which is a huge thing for people in my country. And I don't have them for anything to do with the Rastafarian movement, but I became very aware of it. Locks are just what I want. But going to Jamaica, seeing how people treated me, they didn't know where I'm from. To see a black man, to see a man with locks, yes, what's going on? There's love, blessings. And when they hear I'm from Nigeria, it's still love and blessing. And I felt like I was seen, like I was welcomed, like I was home in a way.
Nice.
Like we wanted to stay longer, but we couldn't. But the reggae movement hit me in my soul. Just hearing artists and music, seeing how it was everywhere. And I went deep. I'm still in the bag of just like finding artists and adding it and seeing what it does for me and hearing the messages behind it. There's a lot of God-related reggae out there in regards to what God blesses, no man can curse type thing, spreading love. It's a very loving movement that a lot of people don't understand.
Because what they hear is, unfortunately, the dance hall this is an offshoot. And not all dance hall is now about stabbing and daggering and whatever.
Ironically, literally last night, I was some friends from LA, some friends of mine in LA doing a job, and I'm working with them. And the director, he's from Jamaica, and I was with him talking about that, and he was like, look, dancehall now is not what dancehall used to be.
Not at
Dancehall has
all.
been run by all the scammers who are talking about scamming on dancehall.
Yeah.
But what it was back in the day is the real,
Dancehall back
you
in the day
know.
was
So
phenomenal.
I believe it. I've heard.
That's
I've heard
right.
songs and I've seen mini documentaries.
Yeah.
I even went into the whole Lovers Rock thing,
Oh, okay.
like to understand it a bit more. After Steve McQueen did the Small Axe
Yeah,
series,
yeah.
which really shone a light on
He did a good
how much
job
I
with that.
didn't know about, again, the Caribbean
Mm-hmm.
influence here, but also things back home. So look at me saying back home like I'm from there, but like you get my
Yes,
point.
fully. We
you
welcome
know.
everybody in the Caribbean.
Yeah, no, and I believe that. There's still places I want to go and see, and I do want to go back to Jamaica. But yeah, I can go on for time about all the things I've seen and the pictures, but there are many beautiful places in the world that show me the world is vast, that God was really flexing when he said, I take that, I'll build this.
Sprinkle a little bit of hair.
And wait, and I'm filled with awe every time.
Yeah. And all of this feeds the creative in you. But there's also obviously, because we live in a capitalist world, there needs to be a business piece, a head piece. How do you, as someone who is such a big artist in that sense, and when I say that, big in that you use the power of the word, you use your multimedia. How do you navigate that balance of you need to eat food?
You're asking the question at a good time because I made some changes since we
Oh,
last spoke.
okay.
So I closed down the company because the last 2 years have been very interesting for my company. So I founded my company about 10 or so years ago. And I felt like I wanted to create a space that would be safe enough for creatives to do work where I could somehow in time make sure that there was an equity to change things. But then I think earlier I mentioned how I would once operate from a place of starvation, right? Of like, okay, what games I got to play? And I think I fell into that with the company, whereby I stopped being the storyteller I wanted to be and said, what do I need to do to get the money? And the last 2 years have been tough in the sense that I made a lot of decisions, but also allowed myself to agree to things that my spirit was like, yo, what are you doing? And they weren't bad things. They were just not things I should have said yes to. All that to say that it didn't make sense. And what was coming to me throughout the last 2 years was all the stuff you decided to do. Did you ask God about it? Did you see what he thought? I said, no. I realized, no, I just went and makes sense. But there was no faith behind it. There was no bringing God into things. But the things that I was really supposed to be doing were there and not being nurtured. I found more peace doing those things. Even if they didn't feel like the big bucks were attached to them, it was like, this is what you were doing before. This is what you were always supposed to be doing. Go back to that. If you're not giving that time, of course it can't grow.
Yep.
So I closed the company down and I went back to another company with the original intention in mind of art, but also finding a way to balance that with the corporate,
The commercial realities of the world.
and the knowledge I've gained from that first business and all the corporate jobs I've done have given me a better place to operate from. I've done the jobs where I could balance it. So like I said, the Canon job, for example. So I can just go back to doing what I was doing that got me those jobs, which was making the stuff I want to make. Because that's why I got all those jobs. People would point out, the thing you did here, what was that for? Yourself? Well, we love that. That's what we want for our corporate things. But also partnership. So I realized that the commercial thing is not the only way for me to make a living. Because if I chase that, it's not going to be from a place of community or love. I realized that one thing I really care about is community, in the sense that where can I serve and how can I serve? There are young people around me daily who either DM me or email me, or I'm around through the initiatives I'm a part of that I'm like, they want access. There are organizations that don't have the experience that I have and they could benefit from it. So I've actually said to them, what do you need? And by giving myself, doesn't matter whether it's here in another country, to whatever workshops, board meetings, wherever it is, charity roles, favor comes from those places. And I don't go there for that favor. I go there because I'm like, I feel like I can do something here. And that's also what was given to me when I was younger. So I'm like paying it forward. But somehow conversations I had, and it leads to the odd email of, here's a job for you or whatever, and provision comes. my decision making is no longer based around what I know I can make from commercial jobs. I know what money is out there. I know that money is hard to come by if you don't play the game a certain way. I'm reluctant to play the game because that game doesn't feed I feel terrible after playing the game. That wasn't my authentic self. That was me saying, you know, and there's no racial connotations what I'm about to say, but that was me saying, yes, sir. No, sir. It's just because I'm going to go home and be like, oh, I don't really want to do this.
And then it's going to be hard to wake up in the morning and bring your best self and do the work.
And I've had jobs in the company in the last 2 years where there was like a lot of money attached and I was reluctant. So I'm like, why are we here?
And then you'll be annoyed by the output because it's not your best work.
It's not your best work.
And then you're just going to be like, this is going to haunt me for the rest of my life.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So this new company is now well, I'm not even trying to push the company now. I'm like, it will do what it needs to do in time.
Okay.
But me as a person, because I know I have value now. I know that people want to work with me. I just need to make sure that I'm doing what they want me to do from a place of truth. But I'm also being wise with what I get.
Okay.
So any money I get, it's not a matter of going crazy. It's no, this money is a means to an end. And give it back to the Lord in the sense of, okay, thank you for this. Now, what do you want me to do with this? Outside the things I need to take care of, which is bills and responsibilities, cool.
Does it go into a new project? Does it go into people?
You know, that stuff. Because I know when I didn't have that, what I wasn't able to do. But I also know what I was able to do when I had nothing. And I was able to do a whole lot because I was a bit more inventive. Mm-hmm. So if I'm not able to be that inventive with even more, there's a disconnect. So it's more like sowing a seed now for what I might be able to do in 20 years' time. Because I know I don't know everything yet. So there's a balance. There's a better balance now. Like in the last 4 months since I've made changes, there have been some interesting opportunities that came forth out of nowhere through partnerships that I've had in the past. And, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm free to do this now. And it might not have all the zeros attached to it, but whatever zeros it does have is enough. But also the satisfaction.
And it will connect to the next thing.
Yeah.
And it will keep on growing.
It always does.
Yeah.
It always does. Yeah. So I'm still learning as I go though. So yeah.
If you definitely don't have a script, you don't necessarily have a strategy. You are someone who goes on vibes, who goes on good feeling, your faith. But if there was someone out there who was like, I have all these things. We live in a world that sometimes requires a bit of structure, a bit of directional focus. If you had to put it in, say, top tips or 5 steps or one of those horrible lists for someone who wants to build a career like yours that is fed in a really wholesome, healthy way as opposed to fed by money, what would you say?
I would say, first of all, don't chase money. Money comes and goes. You cannot chase a thing that is not going to be yours to hold on to forever. Faith, and that's something that really grounded me. Faith never disappoints. It just takes time for it to germinate. But it doesn't disappoint. You just need to be disciplined enough to keep at it. I think the first tip I'd say is figure out your why.
Yeah.
That's something I learned very early on in my journey. So I can't remember who said it to me. But figure out your why. Why do you really want to do this thing? And that's, in a way, I'd say figure out your why before the what, which kind of leads me to my next point. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. That's something I learned really recently, and that humbled the hell out of me.
I think it's something that creatives really, especially in this world, and when we talk about the fact that you need to survive and eat, like that piece about just because you can doesn't mean you should. And it's probably something that all humans, we need to always remind ourselves about a little bit.
Yeah, we need to be humble enough to be like, look, you don't need to do everything.
Yeah.
And yes, we are in a time where multiple hustles.
Yes.
But something that humbled me last year was a book a friend gave me. I took too long to read it because I knew it was going to step on my neck. It was called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by Mark or John Comer. It's a faith-based book.
The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. That title tells you it will step on your neck.
Yo, the first page alone, I was like, geez, man. I was speaking to my life, and he was talking from personal experience, which made it even great. But it was talking about how Jesus never lived a life of hustle. And hustle was not godly. We celebrate hustle.
And we act like if every single second isn't productive, then what were you doing? If you did not lose 30 pounds, change your whole career and also build a house in the pandemic, what were you doing
What
with
were you
all that
doing?
time?
Jesus didn't do none of that. And it's like, all Jesus did was, Jesus actually stayed away from people more than he was around people. Because when he was away
Smart
from
man.
people, smart man, but he did it because he knew that when he wasn't around people, the one person he was able to talk to was God. That's what he did most of the time. He would go into the wilderness, not desert in the sense of sand. He just went where there were no people, so he could commune with God, because he knew that every moment spent with God was a restful one, and he would get divine direction as to what to do next. And the minute he finished talking to God, he would come back into town, do his missionary thing, and ghost again. He repeated that because he got what he needed to go out there, spread the word, do the anointing. He didn't want attention, then left again.
Yeah.
When he was a carpenter, he did only that. The minute he stopped carpentry, he did the 3 years of the missionary thing and then left the world. He didn't do multiple things.
Oh.
And that's not to say it's bad to do multiple things, but Jesus had a why. He said, cool, carpentry is going to give me time to learn the people, to be obedient to my parents, to learn a craft and be great at it. When it was done, he now went to do what God said, this is what you're here to do. Go and be a fisher of men, preach, win souls, proclaim my kingdom and my love and salvation, and die for these people. He did that religiously. And he was very intentional. He didn't hustle. He didn't say, I need to be all things to all men. He said, I'm going to go, and if you receive me, you receive me. If you don't, it's cool. My Father's work will still be done. And the lesson I got from that the book helped me understand is, why are you doing what you're doing? If you're always tired, if you are drained, there's something wrong in your process. It's either you're doing the wrong thing or too much of a thing that is not going to bless you. So I say to people, find your why. Don't chase the money. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. But also community. And that's another thing I learned from Jesus' example. Jesus built a steady group of people around him to keep him accountable, but also to support. We had a community of people that believed in what he believed in. If you don't have that, it's tough. No man, no woman is an island. It is important you build good partnerships that aren't built off what can I get from you. It's no, there's a genuine care, a love. Too much of the world is transactional. I have a mentor, faith-based mentor, but he's a very prominent man, and I don't know where he finds the time to be giving in the way that he does. He's an enigma in a way as well. And this man knows partnerships. He knows people.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know them based off what they have and what they can do. He loves them in the way he loves us, who he mentors. He calls us brothers, like we're on the same level. And I'm like, I'm not, so you are way. He's like, I see no difference. And he endorses the whole thing of community. And he says, if there is no community aspect to your work, it is pointless. And that really hit me. It's damn. If you're not out there serving, so I tell everyone as well, serve. You are not here for yourself alone. Serving will always pay dividends, but do not do it from a place of, if I do this, maybe I'll get the LinkedIn post, maybe I'll get the Instagram likes. So a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Don't start something because you want to be famous. If you see someone doing something that you want to be a part of, join them. They already have it going on. So join, collaborate, partner. And ultimately, take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Do things that make you happy. And I don't mean happy for compromise. Like happy to the point that there's no consequence negatively to what you're doing.
Like your solo walks and your vinyl
All
shopping.
of that stuff. All of that. Find your thing. Like, it could be as simple as, I don't know, going to a restaurant you like every once in a while. Just watching anime, whatever it is, do your thing. But if it makes you happy from a place of there's going to be no regret, keep that in your schedule as something you do. Because you don't try and say you do that when you get there. If you don't practice it now,
make time for it now.
You're never going to do it when
Yeah.
you have everything.
What partnerships are you really enjoying right now?
Anything to do with young people.
And you are on the board of or patron of?
Yeah, I'm on the board of a charity called Writers and Scribes,
Yeah.
which is an arts charity in London that does workshops in schools and charities across London.
Is that also the one where you did the New York trip?
No, so that's the Amos bursary. I'm a committee member on that one. So
Okay.
I just give as much time as I can. They helped me out when I was a young buck, so I stayed on as
What's
many
the
of us
Amos
did.
bursary?
So the Amos bursary is an educational and professional and personal program where they send inner city and Midlands based young black people they give them opportunities in education and professional environments through mentoring, peer mentoring, professional mentoring, life experiences. They give them a bursary, but also just like long-term support around helping them be the best they want to be.
Nice.
And it's run by two sisters, Baroness Valerie Amos and Colleen Amos, in memory of their parents. And
Wow.
yeah, I give time whenever they need it, however they need it, wherever I can, because not just because they help me, but because it also makes sense.
Yeah.
It just makes sense. And anything for the kids now is what I think. Anything for the kids. But yeah, I also just work in schools where I can, partnering with them on however I can partner.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find ways to do that also in Nigeria and also the States and any place that I tend to frequent.
In the world that you navigate, what are some of the things that bring you joy or that you're really excited and interested about seeing grow?
Again, young people.
About the young people.
I look at young people like babies, and I don't mean that in a bad way. So I love children in general.
Mm-hmm.
I love children because they have no idea what they could be. Limitless
That
potential.
limitless,
Yeah,
kind
you're gonna be anything.
fearless. Yeah, it is very
Like-
refreshing and inspiring.
And it's not even from a place of I wish I could be as young as you. It's I'm genuinely excited for what you might become,
Yep.
and I believe they deserve everything.
The possibility.
Yeah.
Just the fact that there's all this possibility.
Yeah, like you deserve the arena of potential to go and try anything and everything. Like I've always said to myself, I've always thought that through having a business, we had a space, an actual studio space, and I was barely there because most of my work was either abroad or whatever. But I was able to give a key or two to friends who got to use it for whatever they wanted to use it for. And I almost wanted to keep it because of them, but it wasn't making any financial sense. And that's what I want. I want access to resources that allow me to say, take, go. Because if there's something young people want or need, it's time and space.
And someone to listen to them.
And someone to listen to them. If they want that, sure. But time, because you give a young person space
Yeah.
and resources, they shoot for the moon. It's like a baby that walks and keeps falling. As long as there's space to keep getting up again, they'll do that.
Yeah.
But if you try and coddle them, you don't give them a chance to grow. It's I'm here if you want me, but go. And I love watching them find themselves in that way. I don't need to be the one you come to for advice. I'm more than happy to point you to someone else. But I just want to be able to facilitate growth. And that's what excites me at young people, that they might be moving mad sometimes. They might, like when I was in New York last year with some young people, through the Amos bursary, that they wanted me to chaperone them whilst they have work experience. And I'd overhear the conversation sometimes late at night when they're all hanging over at the house. And the way they talk about world hunger situations, I'm like, yo, these guys are... They're deep conversations, like things that I'm like...
Because these are things they're also going to have to be dealing with the fallout.
Emotional intelligence, even gender politics, they talk about it all. I'm overhearing them like a proud parent. The next one, like, we going to be all right. But then the next morning, I find out someone left the iron on. I'm like, like, guys.
While you have that deep conversation, you're trying to bring down your house.
And then you do,
Great.
like make it make sense, guys. Like, they do the weirdest things sometimes. I have faith that you're going to be a great leader, and then you do something that makes me feel like, you're still 18. So it's like that grace, that balance of give them space, but also guide them.
Yes.
Very similar, again, in a faith-based way. God doesn't command you to do anything that is not going to be for your good. And even if you decide to not listen, he's still graceful enough to say, like, all right, when you're ready, come back. But time's ticking. And that there for me is, okay, that's exactly what you want us to be to young people. To each other, but to young people especially. Like he says in the Bible, suffer not the young children. Don't get in their way, but also don't lead them astray.
Yeah, give them some guardrails.
Yeah, because if you don't guide them the right way, you're going to be held liable because they're children. So that excites me, the potential of tomorrow through the lives of young people today. And I feel like I am where I am because people gave me time. People checked for me. People poured into me. I wouldn't be here if not for them. And I feel like it's a huge injustice for anyone to abuse their influence to start movements that seemingly benefit them, but they're not holistically doing their due diligence.
Yeah.
You're creating more problems. And I've seen enough of that to be like, no.
There's too much of that,
There's too much of it. And some people are getting away with murder, but that's a conversation for another day. But that excites me. I try and do what I can now, but I know I can do, I know I want to do more, I can do more. And that's probably why I work the way I work, because it's not even just about myself. I'm like, where can I partner? If anything, I am guilty of trying to get partnerships that, yes, I care about the person and the institution, but I'm like, hey, yo, at some point the conversation needs to be had about what you need to give me so I can
Do this thing.
I can do this thing.
Yeah.
Because I know what you got. And I'm not trying to sing and dance for you, but
We need to get on to brass tacks.
yeah.
Let's stop wasting each other's time.
For real.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I'm guilty of, if anything.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
If success was guaranteed, like no consequences or implications of the fallout, what would you change about your space, your industry, your life? Anything you'd change?
I would change a few things. I wouldn't stop doing what I'm doing.
Good sign.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I think I've always known I'm going to be a writer, regardless. If anything, I'll probably stop looking for the commercial angles, because I'm like, honestly, that's a means to an end. I love the work that I get to do. So by no means should anyone watch this and not approach me for work. Approach me for work, because it's going to be dope. I've got great community around me that will make your idea fly. But I wouldn't hinge the parts of my life that are hinging on it, if that makes sense.
It would have less importance.
Yeah, I wouldn't be looking that way. I'd be like, cool. I'd be doing things I want to do. Probably starting my own ideas and bringing people in. So I would. I'm not sure if I would be based in London. I think I'd be touching base in London. I think London will always have my heart, and I would always come and do things here. But whether I'd be based here, I do not know. I think I would be elsewhere that I feel like I could really get things done. London is a bit slow for me.
Interesting.
London is taking a long time for me to crack, and I don't know what it is. So.
And you think there's another place out there that you could crack more easily?
Let's just put it this way. There are places in the world I've only been once, and the amount of things I get done there is crazy.
Okay.
Like, it's they accept me. In fact, they approach me.
Right.
And I've been trying to knock on doors in London for so long, and haven't I done enough type thing.
Yeah.
I don't by any means think I'm like up there that I should not have gotten everything, but I know people who have done less.
Yeah. Like you've put in the work. You haven't been lazy about it.
In my own opinion. But at the same time, I also look at it as a certain level of, I look at it as a lesson. Maybe there's something in my character that isn't ready. I feel that's how merciful God can be, where he doesn't allow you to do things, because you might be a liability because there's something in your character that isn't fine-tuned enough. So I also take it with a pinch of salt. Cool. Just keep pushing anyway, but don't get jaded. Don't lose motivation. So I would always have a hand in London, but I've become aware of other places where I'm like, I can get things done here, so let's go. What else would I change? I'd change things for my community for sure. I would. I'd change the block. I really would. I'd put some money in the block. I'd do things. I'd take care of my people. They were not just family. They were friends that I want to do things for. Just want to bless them. Yeah, I just want to do things for. In the way friends have done things for me, that I'm like, yeah, there are people I'd love to do that for. Not for any like medal on the chest. It's just, I love y'all, and I'd make all the films I want to make.
Nice. I hope that the success is guaranteed and that you get to do all those things.
By
and
God's grace.
I feel like you are on your way to doing all those things, and you keep on moving forward in that direction. I think it will happen.
Amen to that.
So I always like to close my conversations with some of the questions from James Lipton's Inside the Actors Studio.
Okay. I don't think I've seen that one.
It's known in the acting world. He converses with actors, and he has talked to nearly every single one. He's only done one interview, and he requested Dave Chappelle to be his interviewer. But he always asks the same 10 questions to end, and I've always loved them, and I think they're quite insightful. So we're going to get into some Lipton tea time as we need to wrap up. What's your favorite word?
Ooh, I do.
As a reader.
No. I don't know that I have a favorite word, but if there is a word that I'm really like focusing on. Oh, wow. Actually, no. One of the first words I was really infatuated with, for many reasons, omnipresence.
Omnipresent. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that word, omnipresence.
Oh my God, that word got me in so much trouble in catechism.
Oh yeah.
Because I was raised Catholic. When you're doing your whatever, every weekend you have to go to your classes, and they were like, "You need to be coming to church, Zara," and I was like, if God is omnipresent,
I know where
why
you're going.
can't I just talk to him in my house?
I know. I could tell you're going there.
I'm like, why do I need to go in your hot, sweaty church on a Saturday evening and be there with all
Saturday
these
evening
people.
as well. Oh, yeah, that's tough.
Saturday evening at 6 p.m. But you know what we did instead? I started to go because then all the youths, we just hang out. We'd be in the car park
I hear it.
right out the back of the church, so we know what's going on, and everybody knows when it's time to file in so your mother could see you, get your communion, and walk right back out.
I hear it.
It's where I met my first boyfriend, who was also conveniently my catechism tutor.
I get it. I totally get it.
But omnipresent. It's a good word. It's a very good word. What about your least favorite word?
I do not know. I do not know.
Really?
I do not know. I don't have a least favorite word.
That's not. That's probably quite a nice thing, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I like words. I don't.
Yeah. Okay. What turns you on?
That's gonna be a weird one. I don't know. I don't know for the life of me.
Okay, you are a middle-aged man. You must know. That is something you must know.
I get engaged by many things, if that makes sense.
Okay,
so I
one.
don't have any one that gets me every time. I don't.
Okay, so pick one. Think of someone that you were turned on by in your life, and what was that thing?
I'm actually drawing a blank. Honest to God, I'm drawing a blank. I think, you know what, it goes back to what I said earlier, and this is the truth. Kids, so I remember my goddaughter, who I love with my whole chest. Yeah, she engages me. I like whenever she comes up with anything, I'm just like, it's the most amazing thing ever.
That's an interesting take on a question that says what turns you on. So obviously we know it's not a sexually turn on.
Yeah.
But that's what I find really interesting, that you are probably the first person who didn't immediately go to physical attraction or sex or something that makes you go, ooh.
Yeah, that word, when you ask that question, I've been, no, it's fine. I've been guilty of this. I overthink a question to the point that it could be a very broad one.
But actually, when I think about it, no one said anything sexually, but immediately it's something like intelligence, or no one's ever really gone, my goddaughter, who is just like a bright spark, and the things that she does just absolutely engages me.
Yeah.
But I think it highlights your focus on guiding, growing, and developing the youth.
Oh yeah, for sure. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure intelligence in the right form would be like,
Yeah.
yo.
Yeah.
Who would have been turned on by that? But it's not. When you ask that question, for the life of me, my mind wasn't going anywhere there.
That's nice.
If that makes sense.
I like that.
And if that's a good or a bad thing.
No, I like that. It also made me go, why did you always go there? And what turns you off?
Oh God. Okay.
There's lots of those.
Not lots, but smoking. I cannot. I abhor that. I don't think it's healthy or attractive in anyone.
I used to love smoking.
I'm glad you stopped, if you have stopped.
This probably sounds like a cop-out, but that inhale, exhale, that regularity, it's a little bit meditative, especially when you're not doing it from a social perspective.
No, I get it. I feel like a lot of people do things not for the reasons we think. It's a lot of habits that we have they have mental implications.
It's true.
So that's why that makes sense.
What about a sound or noise that you love?
I love jazz.
Yeah.
Jazz is my...
Sound of something on vinyl.
Oh, yeah. Oh, every time. That will get me.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
What are you currently listening to?
Oof. What am I currently listening to?
Oh, your most recent purchase.
Couple vinyls, literally, in a day. There's some Japanese jazz that I bought recently. I was in the vinyl stores, and it sounds amazing. So I haven't played it yet, but I played it in the store.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm looking to find a day just to...
Did you ever look up that jazz artist I told you about last time we spoke? That's a no. I will check you after.
Thank you. But yeah, that's what I'm listening to right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
What about a sound or noise that you hate?
What do I hate? I don't know.
You're giving me a lot of I don't know. You don't dislike a lot of things, do you? Are you more indifferent about things?
No, I'm not indifferent. I think I definitely stand on one side or the other. Okay. Well, depending on the thing. But I don't hate any sound. I don't hate any sound like, oh, turn that. No, I don't hate any sound, but there are sounds I don't care to listen to.
What are those?
I guess if we're talking about music, the music that comes out today, especially in the context of hip hop, unless someone like J. Cole, who I really do like, but yeah, there's a lot of that. My music taste is still very way back.
Classic.
Yeah, still very classic.
Not a bad thing at all.
Yeah.
If you weren't doing this profession, what is one that you would like to try? Or do?
Oh, yeah, I'd be a chef.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
And what about one that you wouldn't want to do?
How much time you got? I wouldn't be anything to do with science, maths, law.
Your traditional profession?
Yeah, you wouldn't see me there.
Okay. This one I'm very interested to hear your response on. And for you, I know heaven exists. And you would actually be able to probably tell me exactly who's the person who meets you at the gates, because I don't really
I actually wouldn't be able to tell you.
Oh, interesting. But whomever meets you at the gates, whichever archangel or God himself, what do you hope they say when you get there?
Well done. Well done.
Simple and to the point.
Yeah.
Jolade, thank you so very much for joining me, and well done.
Thank you.
And I know you don't necessarily like being recorded, but I think you are a great human to observe as well as talk to.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate the time so much.
It's all
and
good.
Thank you so
Pleasure.
much.
Thank you.
And hopefully next time we'll see you again on I Do What I Do.
Why not?
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, folks. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
That's all, folks, for today's episode of I Do What I Do. Biggest thank you to you for listening and to my guests for sharing their journey. I am Zara Bartels, and a super duper special shout out to the incredible folks that supported me on this creation. Keegan Simon, individual, for my logo and social graphics, Nikolai Labari for my theme music, and Andres Albert for being there and doing all the things while we recorded at TYX Studios in King's Cross, London. Walk good, keep doing what you do. Until next time.